British warships are patrolling the coastline of Cornwall, while 6,500 police officers have been deployed as Britain prepares to host the leaders of the United States, France, Germany, Italy, Japan and Canada. The G7 summit in Cornwall marks Joe Biden's first overseas trip as US president. After 4 years of troubled transatlantic relations under former President Donald Trump, Biden will receive a warm welcome in Europe, says analyst Thomas Kleiner-Brockhoff.
The attempt to rebuild trust, lost trust with allies, is at the heart of the agenda, and that message comes across loud and clear.
The scars have not fully healed, according to Kleiner-Brockhoff.
There's a sort of a lingering suspicion that Joe Biden could be an outlier, an intermezzo between two nationalist presidencies, an America that has changed for the long haul.
Nonetheless, analysts say the G7 leaders will put on a strong show of unity amid numerous challenges. Creon Butler is a former British government advisor on the G7, now at Chatham House.
The COVID recovery generally is the top item, and you can see that, in the way that the UK is presenting the summit.
Summit host Boris Johnson has pledged that the G7 will help to vaccinate the whole world by the end of 2022. Turning this rhetoric into reality is vital, says former British Prime Minister Gordon Brown.
I think it's no exaggeration to say that Friday's G7 is a life and death matter. Its decisions will determine who is vaccinated and safe and who remains unvaccinated and at risk of dying.
G7 leaders will also focus on tackling climate change. Trade and taxation too are high on the agenda. G7 finance ministers last week backed a plan for a minimum global tax rate of 15%.
This bit is really quite revolutionary, as indeed is the agreement on sharing taxing rights around, so not just in the location where the tax residence of the company is, but also in locations where a company may have very large revenues but pay very little tax.
The threat from Russia and China to G7 democracies will also be discussed in Cornwall.
The question as to whether Western countries can find a joint approach vis-à-vis China, and whether President Biden can get the language and the commitment that he needs for also his domestic political purposes out of its European allies to make it worthwhile, in their view, the investment that he makes into the European alliances. That to me is the big question.
Several of the G7 leaders will go straight from Britain to Brussels for a NATO summit next Monday. President Biden is due to meet European Union leaders Tuesday. Analysts say the sequence of meetings is aimed at underscoring allies' support ahead of Biden's summit with his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin in Geneva next Wednesday. Henry Ridgewell for VOA News, London.